Hello, hello, hello. I am Tamsin and welcome back to English Sound Building, the advanced pronunciation podcast that celebrates the physical side of language learning, encouraging you to do the work to build muscle memory, and master new sounds. Always remember that successful communication is possible in any one of the thousands of global English accents. There is no ideal, but learning about pronunciation can make your speech clearer. It helps with listening. It is fascinating and it is fun. And that is why we're here. If you would find it useful to read as you listen, you can find a script from this podcast on my Patreon page. That's www.patreon.com/EnglishBrickByBrick. The link's in the episode notes, as well as on the podcast website. If you do visit my Patreon, please remember that everything is free on there. Just scroll down on the main page. It is just me writing, recording, and editing these podcasts in my free time. So if you like what I do and you are able to support me, whether that's for 1 month or many months, please do. And thank you so much to those of you who already are or have done, especially over these months when I haven't been producing anything. So it's been pretty busy since I spoke to you last in December last year. I didn't intend to take such a long break. Life got busy, work got busy. I'm always happy when that happens, but it did, of course, mean that I couldn't produce the podcasts, which I do in my own time over that time. Fortunately, spring and summer are quieter for me, so I'm back to record season 4, and we might even get season 5 in there too before things pick up again in the autumn. The other good news is that because spring and summer is a quiet time for me, I have opened up my availability on italki for the first time in a year. So if you are an upper intermediate to advanced learner or above, and you would like classes with me, you can find the link to my teacher profile in the episode notes, or just contact me and ask. It's been so great to meet some of you over there on italki and to help you work towards your pronunciation goals, as well as other language learning goals. So I also teach speaking. In fact, there's a great fluency speaking deal going on over the summer months, exam preparation, and I am a writing specialist as well. So today we're focusing on just one sound, and that is but actually there's quite a lot to say about. We'll be coming back to it next week too, and it's quite a long one to start us off today. So, is a voiceless fricative sound, but this time, rather than the friction coming from the tongue or the teeth or the lips, as we've seen with previous fricatives like s or sh or f, it comes from the throat. The friction with is also lighter than in previous fricatives. In fact, linguists argue about whether there is friction there at all, so it definitely isn't a strong friction or vibration. Your mouth should be pretty relaxed for this sound, though in words it will take the shape of the previous or the next sounds. Imagine that I've asked you to make a candle flame flicker without moving your lips. The most common thing my learners do here is to make a velar sound, a velar fricative, moving the back of the tongue up to the soft palate, which results in a sound, or simply overdo the friction so we get a stronger. Play with moving the tongue up and down in your mouth until you hear that softer. A couple of points I'd like to mention before we start. First, if you're thinking about spellings, is almost always represented by the letter H. But do remember that there is a small set of words in which that letter H is always silent, like honest or hour. Second, today we're working on what is considered the standard English from England pronunciation of, but it is a sound which is often dropped, and that's what we're talking about more next week. Let's start with some common words with at the beginning of the word. If your language doesn't have in this position, it can be a particularly tricky one to master, perhaps because you're producing that breath before turning on your voice for the vowel sound afterwards. See how you get on. Listen and repeat. Happy. Hard. Hat. Hate. have, he, head, health, hello, help, her, here, him, his, hobby, holiday, home, hope, hospital, hot, hotel, house, 100, husband. Well done. And now we will say them again, this time in groups of 4. Listen and repeat. Happy, hard, hat, hate. Have, he, head, health. Hello, help, her, here. Him, his, hobby, holiday. Home, hope, hospital, hot. Hotel, house, 100, husband. Well done, and a couple of sentences with those words. Now, I've had a listener request to leave a slightly longer pause after the first time I read these sentences, so we'll go with that today. So I will read the sentence first slowly for you to grasp the words. I will then read it at a more natural pace. I will then pause for you to repeat it. I will read it one more time at that more natural pace and pause for you to repeat it again. Sentence number 1. He has a hard hat on his head. He has a hard hat on his head. He has a hard hat on his head. And sentence 2. Her husband hopes to have 100 hotels here. Her husband hopes to have 100 hotels here. Her husband hopes to have 100 hotels here. Fantastic. And then because this word initial position is such a common position with, let's also have a bit of fun with some higher level vocabulary. Listen and repeat. Headquarters, hence, hexagon, hibernate, hierarchy, highlight, historian, homecoming, helplessness, housewarming, humanities, hummingbird, hurricane, hypertension, hypothesis, hysterical. Excellent, and we'll read them again in groups of 4. Headquarters, hence, hexagon, hibernate. Hierarchy, highlight, historian, homecoming. Hopelessness, housewarming, humanities, hummingbird. Hurricane, hypertension, hypothesis, hysterical. And a couple of sentences with those words. Again, I'll read it the first time slowly for you to grasp the words, and then twice at a more natural pace, pausing in between each one for you to repeat. Sentence 1. The historian highlighted the hexagonal headquarters. The historian highlighted the hexagonal headquarters. The historian highlighted the hexagonal headquarters. And sentence 2. The hurricane made him hysterical and hence hypertensive. The hurricane made him hysterical and hence hypertensive. The hurricane made him hysterical and hence hypertensive. Great work. It can also help to think about pairs of words which sound the same, except that one has a sound at the beginning. So these are not exactly minimal pairs because the words aren't distinguished by a different sound rather than the presence and the absence of that at the beginning. Listen, repeat, and ensure that you're differentiating between the words with that sound at the beginning and that you're not pronouncing it in those where there shouldn't be that. Listen and repeat. Hacks, axe. Hair, air. Harm, arm. Hate, ate. Hear, ear. Heart, art. Heat, eat. Hedge, edge. High, eye. Hill, ill. Hit, it. And hold, old. Great, and a couple of sentences with those words. Sentence 1, he hacked with the axe and hit it. He hacked with the axe and hit it. He hacked with the axe and hit it. And sentence 2, put the heart art, eye high, at the edge of the hedge. Put the heart art, eye high, at the edge of the hedge. Put the heart art, eye high, at the edge of the hedge. Well done. Okay, let's move on to some words with in the middle of the word. Again, pay attention to any combinations where you find the more difficult. This position of is far less common, so there is some higher level vocabulary here. As always, get your dictionaries out if you need to. Listen and repeat. Ahead. Apprehensive. Backhand. Behavior. Behind. Carbohydrate. Childhood. Comprehend. Comprehension. Enhance. Inheritance. mahogany, mayhem, perhaps, prohibition, reheat, unhappy, wholeheartedly. Well done. We will now repeat again in groups of 4, except for the last group, which will be a group of 6. Ahead apprehensive backhand behavior. Behind carbohydrate childhood comprehend. Comprehension enhance inheritance mahogany. And the big one, mayhem perhaps prohibition reheat unhappy wholeheartedly. Well done, and a couple of sentences with those words. Number 1, he wholeheartedly hated the mahogany hat stand he inherited. He wholeheartedly hated the mahogany hat stand he inherited. He wholeheartedly hated the mahogany hat stand he inherited. And sentence 2, he felt apprehensive about their behavior. Perhaps he sensed mayhem ahead. He felt apprehensive about their behavior. Perhaps he sensed mayhem ahead. He felt apprehensive about their behavior. Perhaps he sensed mayhem ahead. So you may have noticed with wholeheartedly, the last word in that previous set, that was actually a word with a couple of sounds in there. Let's finish by looking at just a few more of those. Listen and repeat. Hand holding, haphazardly, headhunter, hitchhiker, horsehair, household. And for a couple more sentences with a mixture of all those words. There are so many here. I'm sure you'll be able to make several of your own too. And as always, that's a fantastic way to practice. Sentence 1, the hand-holding hitchhikers haphazardly hunted a ride. The hand-holding hitchhikers haphazardly hunted a ride. The hand-holding hitchhikers haphazardly hunted a ride. And the second sentence, the headhunter highlighted the ways his hobbies enhanced his application. The headhunter highlighted the ways his hobbies enhanced his application. The headhunter highlighted the ways his hobbies enhanced his application. Well done, that is it. That is the end of this week's workout. Don't forget to practice as often as possible to build muscle and muscle memory, speeding the podcast up or slowing it down as you need to. If you'd like to follow me on social media, come find me on Instagram or Facebook at English Brick by Brick. And you will also find me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/English Brick by Brick. So come back again next week for more on this sound, particularly looking next week at how works in connected speech and where it may be dropped. Enjoy sound building, and I'll see you then.